Therapy roulette, consent event. Trauma disguised as comedy. Therapy roulette, consent event. If you don't have problems, then you're likely repressing shit and you should find a therapist who's not me.
We're here with Katie Tamola. She is a writer. She loves her dogs. She loves you, probably. And she's in the middle of writing a book. She's also obsessed with the Yankees, the baseball team. So that makes one of us. But I love her enthusiasm. Katie, welcome to the podcast.
So much for having me. I'm so excited. When I found out you were doing a podcast, and especially when I found out what your podcast is about, I was like, I need to be on this podcast. So I'm so excited. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the enthusiasm from the get-go before anything happened. I was like, someone likes the idea. That's like +1. Any support, I was like, give it to me. I am, a broken shell of a human. I need the support.
No, you're a beautiful angel of a human. But no, it's honestly like it's a very good when I because sometimes you see a podcast idea and you're like, sure, go ahead, like about golf grass, and you're like, hey, if you're passionate about golf grass, sure. But this like what you do is there isn't an audience for golf grass, but like what you do, there's a very, very good audience, wide audience. So I'm excited.
For sure. There's not enough therapy conversations, or at least there wasn't when I was, an impressionable teenager. So that's what I'm trying to create.
No, for sure. I feel like, I feel like the same. I feel the same. It was very much like, I feel like it's just now in the past, like, I don't know if it was 2022 because it was such a strange time, but like, yeah. I feel like just now we're really starting to be like, okay, it's like an okay thing to talk about, because it used to be this thing where it was like, don't say you're going to the dentist. Say that you like broke all your toes. Like, don't say what you're actually doing after work. But no, I agree.
Yeah. I think 2020 felt like a decade. So we probably made hopefully a lot of progress at that time.
Right. No, it did. It will. Oh yeah, for sure.
It's been rough.
What a wild time. Yeah. No, it's like,
So yeah, shaking it off.
No, literally, I'm like, and it's so funny because now it's almost June, and I feel like this year has been so weird as well. Like, it's because obviously things are getting better, thank God, and think about all the people we've lost, and like it's so terrible, and like, yeah, and it's just been such a crazy time that it's like this year and 2020, it was like so slow, but also like I feel like 2021 is just like, oh my God, it's already June, like, and I still don't know my ass from my elbow. Like it's a crazy time, and I'm like, it's like, and I think we're all just gonna like, I think we're all like learning how to live outside again, and not that anyone was taking that for granted before, but like really not taking it for granted now, and just trying our best. And
I think we're like throwing a sledgehammer to society a little bit. At least like we have to rebuild, and I have been so inside the past year. I like come out of my house and I'm like, do people think I'm doing this right? Am I talking correctly? Right. Am I eating okay? Like I don't know what you're supposed to do anymore. It's weird.
No, literally. I'm like, it's actually really funny. I went for a run today, and because it was weird. It was something I got into last year. I ran in college like a little bit, like on my own, like very small runs, whatever. But today I was on a run. This is an ode to New York City, which I love. I grew up here. I'm obsessed, biased, etc. Everything forever. But I was on a run today, and I made like, when you make eye contact with someone for a beat too long, when you're like, it was fine, but we just held eyes for a beat too long. And he looked at me, and I did not look my best. I was on a run, and I was at the end, and he looked at me, and he was like, ugh, like that was the expression he made. And it was so fucking funny. And I was like, oh, New York is just, we're almost there, baby.
But that had to have thrown off your run, right? Weren't you like, oh, that's gonna slow down my speed?
I just was like, we were by like Dylan's Candy Bar, and I was like, there's so much in this area going on that like I can't relate to, that I'm like, I'm open to your constructive criticism. It's like,
it probably had nothing to do with you. You just caught his eye at that moment. It was like he whiffed the sewer trash smell of wherever he was, and that's what hit him.
No, New York is a very, like, what it's all in the eye contact. Like you just
True.
sometimes the eye contact just gets you in trouble. And like that's maybe what I've learned. But
I give you props. Yeah, I don't make eye contact. Like not when I'm walking with strangers. I like strictly look at nothing. I try to avoid people, and that's not good.
Right.
I should look at people.
No, honestly, I think that's totally fine because like it's honestly when I think of like looking, that's not even the first time in New York City where I've made eye contact with someone and been like, "Yep, nope, that didn't end superbly for me."
But then you have like a little bit of moment, a moment shared with that person, and it kind of
Right.
connects you.
I'm like, hey man.
Like I also feel disgust about this corner of the city.
Right. I'm like, it's straight up 92 degrees and I might vomit. So fair enough.
Yeah.
Like
no one likes that.
It was like people always talk about summer in the city. It's not really summer yet. It's the end of May, but we're basically there. And like summer in the city it hits different. It's different. If you can
it's the swamp time.
It's the swamp time. And you're just like everyone's I remember I went to Yankee Stadium. One of my good friends, his name is Bob Law. He's from Pennsylvania. He's never been to Yankee Stadium. He's lived in New York now for like 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
So 2 or 3 years ago, he's like, I've never been to Yankee Stadium. I got great seats from my boss, my old boss, Mike Angel, big Yankee fan. He and I super intense about the Yankees. And he gave me his tickets and they were like on the first baseline, like amazing, very generous.
Wow.
So I was like, yo, Bob, like, let's go. So we go with like 2 other friends and it's 100 degrees, Michelle. It was
oh my God.
And we all just sat there. Like basically the entire crowd. And I'm crazy. I love the Yankees, but the entire crowd was like, we cannot move.
Yeah.
Because none of us can exert that much energy. We were like,
and it's not like a concert where they're like, these people might pass out. We got to spray water on them. They probably don't care. The baseball game.
Everybody was like, they're fine. We all were just like melting. And Bob was like, and it was a walk-off. It was a very exciting game, like at the end. But we all were like, I had red lipstick on from work, and it was like I looked like the Joker. It was melting off, and I was like, yeah,
Katie,
this sounds about right.
You're too brave. Stop being this brave in the summer. It's not worth it.
I was like, talk about overshoot. And now, after like a year and a half in the pandemic, I'm like, I think I've put on lipstick like twice, and I've photographed. I'm like, this moment will be commemorated because it is basically a feat. I am basically like, a graduate degree accomplishment.
Yeah.
I put on.
I think I'm coming to New York soon in June, so I think I'll just bring one of the Necklace fan water bottle sprays with me, and I'll carry that around.
You should. I saw a kid with that today. I was like, that girl's gonna be the president. She literally was like, yeah.
You kind of need it. Yeah, getting from borough to borough, you need something.
Oh, from borough to borough. I don't want to walk from like Avenue A to Avenue B from borough to borough. Anytime I'm like,
it'll be a test.
Energetic.
Yeah, it'll be a test of strength.
It's a huge test of friendship when like your friend moves to another borough or like part of state.
Mm-hmm.
You really find out like if they like you.
Yeah, you were telling me you moved from Manhattan to Brooklyn. Was that because of a reason, or were you just like found a better place?
I wanted to have like my own season of The Apprentice and see like if my friends really liked me and see like my success was that makes no sense.
It's a great litmus test.
It's a great I was like, because it's like where I live in Brooklyn, it's like deep. It's the last stop on the R. Anytime I give someone my address, you see them like grimace and like.
So are you in Coney Island?
Oh, I'm like I said, I'm right near there.
Okay.
So, but it's great, beautiful neighborhood, and it's like, and I love it, and it's like scenic. And I'm probably moving back to Manhattan just because I have, probably think about moving back in with my family, because that's just in the cards, and I'm gonna be 30, and my mom is my favorite person, and I'm like, knock knock, I'm back.
Yeah.
But, it's probably like, but no, I think that's just because I'm like, after the pandemic and everything, like I moved in 2019 in November.
Okay.
And then the pandemic kind of hit the following March. And and I felt bad because it was tough for so many people, and it was, I wasn't that far from my family, an hour train ride is really not terrible, an hour and a half. But just now, I think it's time for me to kind of figure out, like, I'm just at a point in my life where, like, I love it. I love my apartment, but yeah, I kind of have to regroup. So I'm like, I think I'm gonna go back to Manhattan and just like figure out my next step, because a lot of my friends are buying houses and stuff, and like, is anyone gonna give me a house, a mortgage? Probably not at this point in my life. But something to work towards.
Yeah.
But it's like there are things that I want to like kind of figure out, and I'm like, I think I might come back here to do that, and I really miss my dogs. So like,
okay,
I spend a lot of time here.
You're not with the dogs?
No, my apartment doesn't allow dogs.
Oh my God. Oh, that's like a big reason to leave then.
Yeah, I think it's the end of the road because I
Yeah.
miss my dogs. It's so funny though, because my dogs, like, they like me. Peanut, I might even venture to say, loves me, but they are in love. I'm talking cry outside of the bathroom when they're away from him. Like, they are in love with my stepfather.
Aww.
He once left for work. He stood outside next to the front door, and they just stood there for an hour. And I was like, hey, I have treats. I have entertainment in the form of my existence. And they were like, no.
They're like, no, this new person, that's who we want.
Literally, they were like, and they were in love with him. So like, aww. I remember when I first came back, it was like, I turned 28 and I came home, and then Trixie looked at me like, I know you from somewhere. Where do I know you from?
Yeah, because your dogs, I remember when we first like met and we were in that writing class together, you would talk about your dogs constantly. So to know you're living without them, it's like an identity is missing.
Right. No, it's funny because I remember when I actually just saw the neighbor who said this to me. I was doing laundry earlier, and last year she was like, did you move out? And I was like, yeah, like temporarily. And she was like, how could you leave the dogs behind? Yeah. And I was like, whoa, that's a good question. But also, like, especially, I was like, wow. I was like, I have a lot to think about. But especially with Trixie, like, and my mom too. Like, it's Murphy, my stepdad, and then they're like, my mom's in a very close second. And then I'm maybe like number 5. Like, honestly,
maybe they just know you the best. So they're like, we know she'll always come back. Like, we can move on.
That's what my old supervisor Cliff said at my job when we were all in that writing class. He was my supervisor at that job that I had during that time. And he was like, Katie, he was like, you got to play hard to get with Trixie, because like, she just knows that you're always there.
Like, you'll always come back with the treats and the attention.
You might be freakishly onto something. But no, I'm literally, she like yawns, and I'm like, that was the cutest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, no one has ever yawned as well. No being. She's just like, yeah, I'm gonna go take a nap on a pile of sweaters. But
that's so cute. I know where you're coming from though, with the pinnacle of turning 30. You kind of regroup mentally because you're like, this is a big deal. What do I do? Like, I've never been more driven to spend time with my parents. I'm like, they're so far away. What did I do to myself? So I want to go to New York as much as possible.
Of course, yeah, no, and like, it just gets to, it's like, I feel like it was so, when we were in our 20s, like, it was so like built, even before then, like, it was just like 30. It's this big thing. And yeah, sure. Like, but I mean, every birthday is, every birthday is like, woo.
Yeah. I've always made it a big deal. I always throw myself a party. But then 30 was like pandemic. And I was like, okay, this feels different.
And that's like, that's so much like, to have like a 30th birthday like during a pandemic is like so much to think about. There's this extra layer because it's like the world is kind of at a standstill, and like this horrible thing is happening, and you don't know, and you're away from home. So like, I give you a lot of credit because like, I'm about to turn 30 in a few months, and I'm just like, it puts you in an interesting like mental like thought process where you're just kind of like, and I think it's hard. I don't want to say hard, but
it's so unfair. Like the woman checkbox that like you have to go down that checklist. Like, I should have done all this shit at the time I was 30 or like around this time, and I'm nowhere near it.
Right, exactly. And like, I used to feel that so much worse when I was like, probably when you and I first met. Like, like that's like sweet spot of being like 25 and 26. Like I would be,
Yeah.
I'd just be like,
I think we
man.
were all like miserable together.
Right, exactly. Like, because it was just like, especially in the age of social media, like it's just very much like, and I do enjoy social media. Like I love Twitter, I love Instagram, like Facebook. Sure, I use it to keep in touch with
Yeah.
families I babysit for.
I
for
see
sure.
positives from all of them.
Right, exactly. You know, kind of like just forming and keeping these connections with people. But I, just like looking back on it now, like I really kind of, I think the coolest thing, or one of the coolest things about almost being 30 for me personally, and I can't say this is anyone else's experience, but I think one of the coolest things for me has kind of been like recognizing, like, if I see a girl I went to college with, like she posts photos of like her wedding or her, you know, buying a house or having a kid. And usually it's all three. Like usually it's like 2018, this happened 2019, like, and you're like, yeah.
Yeah.
You're
You
like,
either
yeah.
have like you have the creative passion that you're doing, or you're buying a house, having a kid, getting married. Like it's usually one or the other.
So I used to kind of like, when we were 25, I used to be like, man, I used to just get so like not super down, but I'd be like, wow, you know, just kind of like, I don't know. And now I look at that and I'm like, do I want that? I think that is something I want in the future. Definitely.
Yeah. You kind of do have to break it down. You have to like step back and be like, what do I actually think?
Right, exactly. You have to step back and you have to actually like, this is just what I think. Like you have to step back and actually be like, okay, is that something I want? Because for a while I was like, you know, I've had friends who are like, women and men who are like, I've always known I wanted to be a parent. And I haven't always known I wanted to be a parent. And like now I'm like warming up to the idea.
Yeah.
Should anyone give me a child right now? No. But like I've got one of the coolest things to me, I think about like almost turning 30 is, yeah, it scares me because like you said, I'm thinking about, you know, mortality and stuff. And like I want to spend all this time with my mom and I want to, you know, have my life, but I also like, I want to spend time with the people I love.
Yeah.
But also
you realize like the people you are closest to, that's like one of the most important things.
Right. And it's kind of also like, I look now and I'm like, I kind of try to identify these emotions. I see these people I went to school with and I'm like, you had a beautiful wedding. You got to dance with your dad. Now you have a beautiful house or you have a baby. And I just look at that and I'm like, you know what? Like, I don't know if envious is the right word. Like it might be. And honestly, I can't like really figure out. I'm like, is it jealousy? Is it, because I think I'm genuinely happy for them. But I think I've just like noticed something in me. I'm like, sometimes, yeah, like I am a little bummed that I don't have that right now. And like, then I get into this thing, like, what if I don't ever have that? And it's really hard for me to ever start a sentence with, I'm proud of myself.
Yeah.
But like, I'm kind of proud of myself for being like, you know what, like, I kind of wish I had that. And, you know, I hope one day I'm fortunate enough to have it. And that's okay. Like, I remember being like 25 and being like, or 26 or however old, and being like, kind of feeling ashamed that I wanted, you know,
it sucks.
thing, you know, like,
yeah,
to like have someone feel like you're less of an independent person or something because you want to find that. And now, and I think that's one of the cooler things about growing up is like, okay, I want this. I'm not hurting anyone. I respect other people. I love other people. If I want this, fuck you if you like think less of me because I want to like find something with someone. Like, yeah. I'm good.
I think we just look under that magnifying glass all the time because of Instagram. We're like, wow, I know everything about this person because of the one post they did.
Right.
Like, that's not true.
Exactly. No, and it's so funny because we really do believe that. We're like, oh yeah. Like, she has an amazing life. No. She went to like a winery with her best friends for her bachelorette, so her life is perfect. She has never known pain. Like, literally, I have to like that like mental. I'm like, whoa. I'm like, hey girl, hey, chill. No, exactly that.
You're like, no, they just went to a winery. This is not her whole life literally, in a nutshell.
Like she literally just went to a winery in Binghamton. Like it's okay. Like you too can get apple cider in September if you'd like.
Shout out to Binghamton. That's where I went to school. If you're visiting Binghamton, you have another problem. What'd you say?
I said I remember that.
Yeah. Like, I miss it because it's like just nostalgia now. I'm like, I've been on the West Coast too long. I miss all my old stomping grounds, but don't need to stay there for too long.
No, I totally, I'm like, it's weird how you like get to like, because I was like, when we were probably in college like 8-ish years ago. And I'm like, oh my God, time goes by so quickly. But I'm also like, it's so funny because I'm like, I don't know that I'd want to be 21 again. Like, I'm like, I don't know. Because when I was 21, I thought I knew everything. When I was fucking 17, I thought I knew everything. And now I'm about to be 30 and I'm like, I know nothing. And that's totally cool. Like, that's totally fine. You know,
there's such a grass is always greener mentality where like you always like want to be going to the next thing. Like, I want that house. I want that, you know, relationship, whatever. And honestly, like I'm in a relationship, we're buying a house. Not all it's cracked up to be. I could tell you, you know, I miss being single sometimes. I miss having no responsibilities. Like, you tweeted something recently that was like, tell me what it's like to be in a loving relationship. And I wanted to just be like, Katie, just enjoy being single. It's the best. But I didn't know how to say it well over Twitter. So it's like, I'm not going to answer.
No, I've definitely had people say that to me. No, for sure. No, it's like.
It's just a lack of compromise. Like, you're just you and you all the time. And that's its own special thing.
No, that is very. There are definitely strengths to being pros to being signal. Almost said signal.
There's strengths. You know.
There's strengths and pros. No, it's definitely. I do like that. Like, if I like very like randomly, I'm not a big traveler. I don't know what it is. Like,
you don't love travel?
I don't love travel. I'm kind of the worst.
Oh.
But it's funny.
And it's like hard to connect with millennials, I guess.
Right, because like it's so funny because I like have like beautiful, wonderful people in my life who love, and they're like, "Let's go here," or not even like with me. They're just like, "I want to go here so bad," and I'm like, "I want to go to my couch." Like I'm just like, I think like a lot of people also want to go to their couches, so I think they get it. But I also think like after 2020, I'm like kind of more like my mom and I are watching a lot of Queen of the South, which is a very violent show, but she was in Malta and Malta's beautiful. I was like, I think I want to go to Malta, but I was like, also, like, I don't like to travel. So it's like this interesting thing, but being single is cool. Like I try to tell myself because like, you never know what's going to happen. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Like you don't know what's going to, and also if I wanted to go to Malta tomorrow by myself, like I could do it. If I, I'd have to take off work and be like, please let me go to Malta. But, cool, you know, like, and I think like a lot of single people, including myself, are, you know, I'm proud of what I'm trying so hard to be proud of what I've built on my own, which is.
I'm proud of you. Yeah. You're doing so much stuff.
Oh, you're so sweet.
You're living off the R train. That's not easy. Like you're writing all the time. You're working on a book proposal. You're on social media. You're doing it all.
Gem. Thank you. I will.
Of course.
You're a gem.
We have to tell each other we're proud of each other because we don't hear it enough.
Hell yeah. I'm proud of you too. Hell yeah.
Thank you.
Look at what you're doing. You're awesome.
I bought a microphone.
Yeah, and it's sick. It looks awesome.
Thank you.
I like it.
Tell me about writing for Shondaland. How long have you been doing that, and how'd you get into it? Because you kind of did that after our writing class. Is that right?
It was literally right after I started writing for them, right after our writing class. I honestly cannot say enough positive things about Shondaland. Basically, you know, that class was a godsend, the one that we took together. You guys were so awesome. You know, Dana was awesome. And you know, it's kind of really what I needed. I'm kind of like the person who needs like I love when things are like, all right, literally this is what you have to do. Step A, step B, step C. I'm sure there's a word for that. And I'm just, you know, blanking on an eloquent way of delivering that. But
someone gives you the instructions.
Right. I do love a like step-by-step process. And our class was very much like, all right, you know, you like something, you like a publication, you got to find a way to like, you know, this is what you do. You email an editor and you say, hi, I'm Michele, I'm Katie, and don't say I'm an aspiring writer. I thought that was some of the best advice. Like, don't be like, I'm an aspiring writer, which is very much, I think a lot of us tend to be like, I'm an aspiring. It's like, no, you're a writer. You want to be a writer. You've written before. You are a writer. I am a writer from Manhattan, et cetera, et cetera. So basically. And
it does sound, that word is so wishy-washy, aspiring. It's like, oh, are you still dreaming about it?
Right. Exactly. It's very much like, okay, well, you know, exactly. Like, you know, it's kind of like it's like, it's, you know, it's kind of makes you think of maybe like grade school when like they ask you what you want to do. And it's like, this is Daniel. He's an aspiring doctor. And it's like, no, you're 25. You've written for, you know, even if it's a blog, it's a student newspaper. It's your own diary at home. Like, you're a fucking writer. Like,
Yeah. You also
boom,
like went
that's
to
it.
college and took a bunch of like, didn't you get an English degree, right? So like you did all that.
Right. I got an early ed degree, and then I got a journalism degree, which was fun. And then it was really cool to like study something that I really loved. Like, I love journalism school. It was intense, and it was in Boston, and I hate the Red Sox, and and they won the World Series naturally the moment I moved there, because that's how life works. But all humbling.
Throwing you curveballs, yeah.
Exactly. And then the Patriots won. I was like, am I like an omen for my own sadness? Like, but I don't really mind.
Maybe it was just like the universe saying, "Get out of Boston."
Yeah, the universe was like, I think from the moment I stepped into Boston, they were like, "You're just you. We know you hate the Red Sox, and you must." And I was like, fair.
But even that, like, you got a journalism degree. Obviously, you're a writer. Like, you took a whole degree program.
Thank you. No, it was, and it's sometimes hard to like. It's just hard to be. You kind of want to. My mom says this often to me about myself. She's like, and I actually had a boss recently say to me that it is who I am. Kind of like, I'm just kind of self-deprecating, which I think that some people are, and like, my mom and my one of my recent bosses was like, it's reflected in your work sometimes. So it's good to kind of get those like pieces of advice where it's like, no, you're not an aspiring writer, you're a writer.
Yeah.
And
like, be more ballsy, go for it.
Right. I think, and exactly, like, that's, and so now, I was just kind of like searching. I knew that I wanted to write something. I knew when we took that class was the first really like big freelance piece I ever got published was about self-harm and mental health.
I remember The Cut, right?
It was Refinery 29.
Refinery 29, okay.
And
I remember reading it.
Yeah, thank you so much. No, it was super exciting. And then I
very
knew
vulnerable too.
Thank you. No, it was cool, and it was like a gift to be able to write it. And so I knew that was like, those are the things that I like kind of live to write, like really just like, human things, like, and that's also what I look for in books. Like, I want to promote and share and read human books, books that are like, these are the highs of being a human, these are the lows, these are the things that a lot of humans might not experience, these are the things a lot of humans probably will experience. So that's kind of how I found myself with Shondaland. I knew that it was a lot of like, our class taught us a lot of research and like just finding editors. And I was just pitching to editors, and I was like, hey, I have this idea for like Father's Day books. And I had this idea to write about my father. My father had passed away, and I wanted to write about kind of like the, I use the word, I have to find a new word, because I like go to use the word fragmented relationship that we had.
Okay.
I don't know that that's the right word. It was complicated. It was a complicated relationship. We loved each other. We love each other, in life and death, I think, he and I, but we had a complicated relationship, and it kind of got, right after he died, it got a little bit more complicated. And
sure.
So I wanted to write about that. And that's how, so I like formed a relationship with an editor from Shondaland via email, and she was super nice and encouraging. And I ended up not writing that piece for her, but then I started writing book coverage for them, and that was in 2017. And yeah, I've just been really lucky. They've been really wonderful to me.
That's awesome.
Thank you. No,
You've been writing about books since 2017. That's quite the accomplishment. Like, you're reading all those books and writing about them. It's not easy.
Thank you so much. No, it's man, if I could recommend some really like powerful books I've read this year, probably like just good books about like, honestly, like grief and just being a human. Like, the best books I've read this year are very much like just about being a human. And right now I'm working on something for Shondaland that I've actually been working on for a year and a half. It's a story about grief. And I interviewed people from across the country about their experiences with grief and what they wish people knew about like their experiences with grief. And
that's something we don't talk about. Like, it's untapped unless you're going through it.
Right.
I don't hear about grief.
Right. No, and it's thank you. No, that's what I thought. So so that's what and that's kind of my like I'd say like passion project right now. Like,
yeah, a year and a half. Like,
yeah, and is
that going to be for Shondaland, or is that going to be something else, like the book you're working on?
It's going to be for Shondaland,
okay.
And it'll hopefully we're still in like the editing process, so hopefully, and I just want to do right by the people who shared with me. So and I think that that's a lot of like something that I'm sure like everyone. It's so funny. I was like, I just feel a lot of imposter syndrome all the time, and I really want this grief story to be good, because it's not just about my grief. It's about a bunch of different people, and it's not really about me. It's about all these people who shared with me, who lost people who meant the world to them or had these experiences. So
yeah,
I got there have been a few times over the year where I've like gotten in my head and I've been like, this is gonna like this isn't, I'm not gonna do this right. Like I'm gonna disappoint these people, and like, so I'm just kind of trying right now to just be like, all right, okay, sure. Like I just like let my like what I talk about in therapy, like my like Dana, shout out to Dana.
Yeah, our teacher Dana.
We love. Oh yes, Dana and my therapist.
And your therapist is named Dana. Okay, I didn't know.
Also awesome. We shout out Dana Schwartz. She's a gem. Taught me
and
a lot.
All the other Danas out there. Thank you for your work.
No, I'm big fan of Dana's. Big fan of Dana's. But
didn't know your therapist was named Dana. That's
no,
funny.
I should have. I literally, it's so funny because that's how I'm like, oh, Dana. But her and I have like spoken a lot about like when I have like a negative thought or something, just kind of like, she's like, you just gotta like let that like go. You have the thought, and then she was like, and then just like watch it go.
Yeah, don't hold on to it.
Right, and it's definitely easier said than done. I'm a big holder on to things, but yeah, no, so Shondaland's been really good to me. I have nothing but wonderful things to say about them, and I just hope they keep having me. Like I want to write for them forever, and I really hope the grief story. I hope that the people who were generous enough to share with me, I really, really, really hope and pray they like it. And
yeah, I'm sure they will. Like I think you're. I do this too, where you're like making it into such a bigger pedestal thing, and you're like, it has to be the best it could possibly be. But really, if you just put it out there, I'm sure people will love it, and they're not going to know how much better it could be because that's all in your head.
Thank you. No, there you go. Yeah, and it's definitely like I'm just hoping I get it out there, and I'm excited, and it's interesting.
I'll keep asking you about it. I'll be like, Katie, where is it? How's it going?
It's funny. My mom and someone else were like, where is it? And I was like, it's coming. It's a good question, but it's coming. But,
yeah. Sometimes it takes, a lot of like fits and starts, and like you have to get it to a certain place.
Right. Exactly. And just kind of figuring out, like how does this, making sure that everything is, reflected as best effort and everything. And so it's been cool.
What's a book about grief you could recommend? Because I think people experience grief in the traditional sense, and also like maybe they're estranged from someone and they have to like mourn that someone's gone from their life.
Right. That's a really good question. I would say, because grief, like you just said, like grief is very, in some ways, it's very, I go to say it's not one size fits all, because it's definitely not, like your relationship with the person you've lost is not my relationship with the person I've lost, and so forth. But, I think there are similarities, but, like, I think there are similarities and like in the ways that it is one size fits all. Just in my research and just in my personal experience, the one way that it's one size fits all is that a lot of people don't know how to talk about it. It makes people very uncomfortable, even if it's a neighbor in the elevator. Like I've had neighbors in the elevators be like, one time a guy was like, heard your dad met his demise. And I was like, well,
oh my God,
we weren't starring in a Shakespearean play, but yes, he did. Like, like people just, and he probably wasn't trying to be vicious, but like people just don't know what to say and they get uncomfortable, or sometimes they say like what feels like in the moment the worst thing. So I think that's definitely like a big commonality.
And they're probably not at all realizing how it'll sound to you. Like that's not great. Demise is not great.
think about this for the next 3 years, but okay, good talk. Cool.
Yeah.
But one of the recent books I read was called What Comes After by Joanne Tompkins. And it's like such a wild plot. It's like, it's not like a super wild plot. It's just like the breadth of forgiveness that you have to like ponder in relation to the plot. Like it's what is a wild mental experience. Basically, the plot of the book is that these two boys grew up as best friends. They kind of grew apart in high school, but they're still relatively close. And they die in a murder-suicide. And there is a young woman who knows both of them, and she kind of just like emerges, and they're all teenagers, and she's pregnant. And one of the deceased teenage boys, his dad takes her in, this young girl he does not know, and it just like unfolds into this beautiful, very just so thoughtful and a human, and taking something so dark and like bringing hope into it, and like this, like it just felt realistic. It felt like, because life is fucked up, and
sometimes like terrible things happen. You have to keep going.
Terrible things happen, and sometimes I think you genuinely meet people. Like I can name 5 people off the top of my head who I've met who like I'm like, wow, like that person really showed me hope, or showed me what like goodness is. And it's not always in like these like grand gestures. It's very much in like do you want to come over, you can stay on my couch, you can stay in my guest room, like, oh my god, I got you a coffee. Like just sometimes literally just getting someone a coffee or soda or a bottle of water, like it when a person is down, like these things mean a lot. So
yeah.
And that book is called What Comes After by Joanne Tompkins. And it was just very much like a interesting book, because you hear the plot and you're like, that's so sad. But like for her to weave hope in almost this, like, it feels real kind of way. But that was really good.
I hear like when you say the word hope in this context, I hear like the beam of light coming down. I'm like, oh, it does sound really hopeful. I wanna see how it comes out in the book.
No, it's like, and it's so interesting, and it's just like I really liked it because it's like it was just so human. It was just very much like I got to interview the author, and she was wonderful, and she's like talking about like inspiration behind it and stuff. And she just was like,
and it's a fiction book, right?
It's a fiction book.
Yeah, so that's cool, because then you could be like, oh, it's not that real, it's also fiction.
Right, exactly. It's very much like it has exactly, you're like, you can kind of be like, oh, okay, like very much like, let me, because there was one time I really loved the book, like when I think of like 2021 books, that one really sticks out for me, and a few others. But there was a time when I was reading the book and I was like, okay, I need to take a break, just because like it's upsetting, and that's that's life sometimes. Like I was just like, I need to take a break right now, just because this is pretty heavy. And another book, two books that are like very, I think, mainstream, for lack of a better term, are Tuesdays with Morrie. That's a very hopeful book by Mitch Albom, and like just like very beautiful, and very like another one where you're like, oh my god, really good and special and thoughtful people exist, and that's nonfiction. And then
that one's probably popular because it's so good.
Right. Exactly. And then another book is A Man Called Ove. I believe the author's name is Frederick Backman. Okay. I could be wrong. I don't want to be wrong, but he just came out with another book recently that I haven't read yet. But that book, of A Man Called Ove, I can't recommend enough. My friend Amanda from high school recommended that to me. She's an angel. And that book had me, my mom came into this room about 4 or 5 years ago. I was reading that book. She came into this room. I was huddled over the book sobbing, and she was like, are you gonna be all right? And I wasn't even like crying because it was sad. It was just like so beautiful. And it was like, because like it's about this like curmudgeon old man, and like he loses his wife, and he just hates everyone. Aww. And this little girl's like, hey, Ove, and he's like he's like, get it away from me. Like, it's just a really beautiful book. It's a great book.
Aw, I like that premise.
Yeah, no, I was super, give me a curmudgeon old man any day of the week. And then I really liked one that I really appreciated was obviously Akilah Hughes's memoir, because she talks about her relationship with her dad, and like I think that's pretty brilliant too, because she's so funny. She's so great.
Yeah, she's a podcaster, right?
I believe she started on YouTube. She has a podcast. Yeah, she's a very popular podcast. It's called What a Day.
Yeah. Okay.
She's so smart. She's got a really adorable dog named Fauci.
Yes. I think I follow her.
Yes. The way she talks about, she has this like beautiful chapter about like daddy issue jokes, about how like daddy issue jokes aren't funny. And as someone who's like kind of had people like maybe make a daddy joke or daddy comment about me, like to me, I just felt like, so like, I'm glad someone fucking finally said it, because it's not original, it's not funny. And like her book was, and it just like, that's the kind of book, like if you have a complicated relationship with a parent or someone, like I thought that book was really good.
I'll have to check it out. I remember just something about Akilah Hughes. I remember she met Dr. Fauci and told him, my dog is named after you. And he was like, meh, whatever, like not impressed.
Oh my God. I remember Jesus Amaro interviewed him, and they were like, because I think he's from Brooklyn, if I'm remembering correctly.
He must be. He's from New York.
Yeah, he does have our New York accent, but he's like a Nationals fan. And I'm pretty sure we asked him about it, but he like threw out the first pitch. I think like he threw out the first pitch last year like when the MLB had a shortened season. But I literally was like, ask, like give him shit for being a Nationals fan. I was like he's from Brooklyn, like should be a Yankee fan.
Inexcusable.
Yeah, I was just being straight up irrational, you know.
Yeah, that's funny. As he should be with Dr. Fauci. Give him some tough material to work with.
Someone's got to push back against the medical life-saving genius. I'll do it. I'll be the brave one.
We got Joe Biden and Katie Tamola. Take them on.
Here I am.
I like that. So your therapist Dana, have you been working with her like for a long time? Was she an asset when you were like going through a lot of grief about your dad?
That's a great question. I met Dana. I met Dana like right when I was taking that class with you.
Okay, so everything happened then.
No, it really did. I think I even told you guys, or I might have mentioned I was going through like a really, like it was like the first like real relationship I was ever in, and like it was ending, and it was just a perfect storm of things. It was like I was going through this thing with this guy, and like I kind of felt like Dana and I just talk about how I'm a late bloomer. Like I didn't really have that in high school and kind of in college, but like 25 was when I had like the boy, and then like didn't. And it was just kind of like, whoa, this is a different kind of pain, you know, where you're not like, you don't even necessarily need to have to be like crying every day. You just kind of sit and you're like, I envisioned so many things with this person. And now, you know, and now you look back after time and you're like, oh, you know, like I don't even, you know, I haven't seen that person in years and I hope they're doing well. And like, you know, I don't even, and you know, I'm happy with the paths that that I took, you know, all that, but
time did heal it.
Right. Time did, thank God. And, but 2017, I was
like a cocoon butterfly kind of moment. Sounds like.
Oh yeah, for sure. Cause you're
shedding the skin.
Right. And you're just like, and I'm sure he like, you know, and it's cool to have like, you know, breakups are tough, man. And like, and I haven't, you know,
they're never easy. Like
it's never really, and like, and I'm not really out here like the Bachelorette. Like I don't have a ton of suitors ever. Like I used to make a joke that I like convinced a dude to date me every 5 years, like, cause it literally was lining up that way. But I'm trying to stop making self-deprecating jokes. I
think that's a pretty good timeline every 5 years. Then you get shit done in between.
I think that, yeah, we're almost at year 5, so I'll let you know.
Okay.
I'm just going to put all my eggs in that basket, you know, I'm going to hold out for that. No, I'm kidding. But
if it's a pattern, why not? You know the pattern's coming.
You know, this is the one math I'll rely on. But so I found her through my insurance in 2017 when I just felt like I was having problems with my dad, like just kind of, my dad told me he had cancer, and like it was just like, and I just was like, felt guilty because we were fighting all the time and I hadn't seen him in months. And I was like, wow, I'm, you know, kind of a piece of shit because I haven't seen him. But
you're not.
Thank you. It was just like, it was a
perfect storm.
It was a perfect storm. Yeah. And it was very much like I had a few, I was struggling with a friend, and who I really cared about, who was struggling with addiction. And it just kind of put me into like, I remember one time I showed up at Dana's. I think I like saw her for like 6 months when I did this. I showed up to her office, and she opened the door, and she was kind of like, look, you know, when you like open the door and you're like kind of like looking down because she had a carpet, she was making sure it wasn't getting caught. And she like opened the door and she was like, "Hi, Katie." And she looked up and I was already sobbing. Hadn't even stepped into, I just had like a terrible day at work. And I was like, and she was like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" And I was like, "I'm fine. I just need to sit down." But but I felt better afterward. I cried. I told my friend, because she used to have an office on Fifth Avenue, and sometimes I'd walk home. It's like a mile. And it was like around the summertime, so it'd be nice. And I told my friend, I was like, most effective way to clean up all of my work makeup is just cry it all off on Fifth Avenue.
Natural.
She was like, "Wow,
yeah,
like, you're really onto something."
The all natural way to clean it off.
Literally, I'm saving the environment with my tears.
Yes.
So.
Nothing needs to biodegrade because it's all coming out of me.
It's all on my cheeks. There we go.
That's so nice, though. Yeah. It sounds like she's kind of the therapist who like will get you that bottle of water when you need it, or like is like, yeah, come cry.
She's awesome. She's really cool. I can't say enough positive things about her. She's great. She's got a wonderful heart. She's just there for me, which I think she's really there for me. And she also she helps me like challenge myself sometimes when I need to be challenged. And she's awesome. And she's funny. And she thinks I'm funny, which like it's such a huge ego boost. I'm like,
that's important. The therapist has to appreciate your humor.
Exactly. Yeah. You know.
Otherwise, you're like, I think you make extra jokes if someone doesn't like your humor because you're like, why won't they laugh once?
Entirely. I'm like, no, literally, that's me. I'm like, oh, they didn't laugh, so I'm just gonna double down. Yeah. I'm gonna make like they're like, please stop.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
And I like that she catches your like self-deprecation too, because that you have to do like in smaller doses because no one likes all self-deprecation and it's not good for you. So sometimes someone needs to say like, hey, tone that down. Love yourself a little bit.
Right. She's, and it's funny because she has like, it's so funny. She's such a good therapist because like, we'll be like talking and then she'll just kind of like make an like observation. She'll be like, "Oh, you have trouble saying no." And then she'll just like move on. And I'll be like, or one time she said like, because it was like the thing we were talking about, I was like, you might be right. And then another time we were talking about something and she said to me, I hope you're setting your sights high enough about like, she was talking to me about dating, which I thought was like such a nice compliment. And like, but she was really, what she was saying too was like, she was telling me, she was like, I think you and everyone deserve someone who like says, she's talking about like just dating certain people and just being like, if you were in a desert and they had water, would they give it to you? Even if you guys were hanging out for a month, like, and I've like dated people, I've been like, I don't know. And she's like, maybe you should date people that you do know. They would be like, let's split this bottle of water in the desert. Like,
yeah, like you got to raise your standards a certain amount to be like, this is totally what you deserve. Please let yourself find that.
And it's so true. And I think that's always been really challenging for me. Like just dating's like it's in its own league of like challenging for me. I always tell Dana, and I've said it to a few people, I'm like, I just don't feel like I've ever been good at it. And like, I don't know, like it's so many layers and stuff, but
it's hard.
It's hard. Yeah. Cause it's like, it's like how much and then also when you're dating, when you haven't like dated someone that you really like connect with for a really long time, and then you just feel like you've been on 20,000 first or second dates, and you're just like, and you're like, wait, like, and some of the things too, dating, like my friends and I will just like trade. Like I went on a date with a guy who I had dated a few years ago, and he was like, let's hang out and get something to eat to reconnect. And he is not a bad guy, but he just like said to me, this was like 2 months ago, he was like, yeah, I can't imagine what it's like dating as a woman. He was like, and your biological clock is ticking. And he said it like 2 or 3 times during the meal. And I was like, you're not a terrible person, but if you say that one more time, I'm going to just like lay on the sidewalk and think about every decision I've ever made.
You have to like, I think if it was me, I would have to call that out and be like, if you ever want to talk to a woman again, like, please do not mention the biological clock. We are aware.
I was like, I don't need anybody worrying about my fucking biological clock. Don't worry about any of my clocks. Like, get it. You worry about all your clocks.
And you're 29 years old. He's talking to you like you're 50. This is ridiculous.
I was like, man, I just do not. And that's on like the more like positives. Like I remember one time I was in Boston, it wasn't even from Hinge. One time I was in Boston, I was standing, like just to show like what little, even worse confidence I used to have. Standing, I was at the bar, I was like 23, and this guy comes over and he's like, you're just a handsome, random, kind of looks like he went to UConn white dude. And he was like,
not impressive.
We were talking. Now, we were just talking, and he was like, yeah. And all of a sudden, mid-conversation, he stops, and he gives me one of these, and he's like, you're cute, but I have, like, really high standards. And I was like, and I spent the rest of the evening talking to him. And now, literally, I look back, and I'm like, you should have, like, with your words, been like, I'm gonna kick you, and then maybe actually kicked him. Like, and I always joke with my friends, I'm like, I guarantee he's married right now. She's probably blonde and a probably wonderful, kind human, and I guarantee they're married. I guarantee he's married.
You're giving him way too much credit.
But like, I feel like sometimes that's like the world, but now I'm like, oh, absolutely not. Now I just like, if it's online, I'm like unmatched. I used to feel bad. I used to be like, oh, he just, he mentioned being naked, but like maybe he's a really good person and spends Sundays with his grandma. Now I'm like, no, ew, you're acting like a pig, unmatched. Please move out of New York so I don't have to share a state with you. And good luck. Never talk to me again.
Like you have more boundaries, at least for like when you're chatting before anything happens, which is good.
Right. I'm just like, because you get to a point where you're like, okay, like, and you also get to a point, the thing with, I think with being single for such a long time too, is like, because I've been, I've like dated here and there, and I've met like a few like not terrible dudes like over the past couple of years, but like, I haven't found what I'm looking for. And also like, I think you get to a point in your life where you see it from other people and books, fiction, nonfiction, movies, life, whether you're like
you've gathered all the experience. You
just know that like, I'm like, sometimes I'm like, I'll go home and I'll be alone, and sometimes I'll feel lonely, whatever, but I would rather be alone than with someone who makes me feel like absolute shit, or someone who makes me want to like, is like, I don't like, who doesn't want to be with who I am, like, I'm good, being.
Yeah, anyone who's bringing negativity into your life, who's not making your life better, you do not have to settle for that or have time for that. Someone who tells you, I have high standards, he's just trying to feed you a challenge and like make you beg for it. Like, that's his own problem.
Like, sir, we are at a shitty bar in Boston. You can't have that high of standards. There's like a fishbowl behind us. Like, what are you talking about? But live and learn, I suppose.
Yeah, like I feel like you should have done a mic drop and like, so do I, just walk away. Clearly, he is not up to your standards.
It's so funny because I like forget things like this. My friends and I would just like trade horrible stories, but sometimes one day we'll trade a bunch of good stories and it'll all be fine.
And honestly, you look back on those times and you're like, that was the most interesting time of my life, because you're just like going through total psychopaths, and you're like, how do these people exist? Why am I talking to them on Hinge?
It's, you definitely do look back and you're like, that was an experience that we had, that I had, and there we go.
And I'll never look at that bar the same.
No, literally, I'm like, I will be staying in the Uber. You guys can go, but I'm gonna make friends with the Uber driver. We're gonna take Boston by storm. I'm gonna be like the person who hands out gum and water bottles in the back. Like, hello.
But oh my God, if I could give you like a question. So have you ever dated someone who he went to therapy, or like he did therapy for a while? Because I feel like that puts him on another level.
Oh my God, that's such a good question. I hope he doesn't listen to this, but I was so into a guy.
You don't have to name drop.
No, I was so into a guy a few years ago because he was very good looking, very, very good looking. He liked books. So I'm already like, whoa. He
Check.
liked books. And he had we were like talking, and he had met, because we were friends, and it just kind of like grew, kind of, like just feelings occurred, I guess. And he was like, yeah, like I started seeing someone, and I was like, that is such an attractive thing that you just said. Like, I did not say that to him, but like, it was just attractive for several reasons. But like, also that made me feel like I could be more myself, because like, um, there, when I've been like talking to someone, or if I've been dating someone, I'll be like, I have to go to therapy on Tuesday, and like sometimes I've had to go to bosses and be like, and sometimes I just like don't feel like, I still feel like there's a stigma, so I'll be like, I have a doctor's appointment.
Yeah.
That's my like go to. I'll be like, I have a doctor's appointment, and I'm pretty like, I write I've written about mental health. I have a lot to learn and experience, but like it's still in life, but I'm fairly.
It's hard in New York. People kind of like keep to themselves more too. In LA, everyone's like,
Right.
you want to know everything about me? Do you have a day? Like, they want to share it all. And in New York, people are like, please walk faster. Like, keep going. Like, we don't have time.
They're like, Katie, that's totally cool. Go to your doctor, go to your therapist. Like, it's 5:45 and I have a meeting. And I'm like, okay, bye. Like,
yeah, I don't want to hear about it. I'm busy. Full calendar.
They're like, please go. But yes, I remember that experience. And yeah, I was like, wow. I was like, because, he just, and what was like attractive about it was he was like talking about like, he's like, some things are hard, and it helps me to talk to someone about it. And I think that was just like a beautiful sentiment. And I think something that a lot of people can relate to. And like, and I think a few people can relate to like having dated or been involved with someone who's like, oh, like, who just kind of like makes you feel like shit if you aren't happy all the time. And like, that's just not someone I want to hang out with. I can't hang out with someone like that, because like, there are gonna be days where I'm gonna be like, I want to be in bed from sunrise to sunset. Like, I don't want to do this. And as much as I'd like to do cartwheels down Second Avenue, a la Goddess Simone Biles, I cannot do that right now. Like, I'm just having a day.
Yeah.
And I think you sometimes need people who are like, that's okay. Yeah. So.
Yeah, you need people who can get where you're coming from.
Right. Who aren't like, smile.
Yeah.
Like,
be so much prettier if you just smiled.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
The worst thing to say.
Literally, I'm like, well, I guess this is the face we're all getting then. Grimace.
Too real. But I think that's something like my boyfriend has done therapy a lot in the past. And then in quarantine, like we did it together, and now he's doing it again on his own. I feel like you constantly have to be working on yourself if you want to grow. So that's something I would look for in a partner, or like someone I'm going on a first date with. It's a good sign.
Right, for sure. No, I think that's awesome.
And I want to just tell you and everyone listening, don't settle for anyone. One of my therapists said, like, people who are around the age of 30 tend to settle. Make sure you're not settling. I had to like ask myself, and I was like, I'm not settling. I just, want to complain about some stuff and fix some stuff. I don't think I'm settling.
Right. No, from what I've like heard on your podcast and stuff, he sounds like a good dude, and you deserve the best. But I also think it's cool that you like just taking the time to be like thinking about like, and I think that because the world does kind of sometimes the world will make you feel like shit, and like it'll be like, yes, I am. My one very close friend and I have also talked about being like the single friend, because I have been the single friend for like what feels like my entire life, and that's fine. But like she's felt that way too, and like sometimes people will comment on it. Like I was at a dinner a few months ago, and like friends of friends, they had to cheers something, and they were kind of making a joke, and they were like, to Katie finding a good man. But it was like sarcastic. It didn't really feel like they were laughing with me. It kind of felt like they were laughing at me. And I was like, so funny.
Yeah.
It's like, I was like, I was like I said, like I'd literally rather be alone and not feel like I'm with someone who would, who doesn't think that I'm great, like why?
Yeah.
Or who makes me feel like shit. Like why? I can call. I have people on my phone. If I want to feel like shit, I have like 5 people I can think of right now who I'm like, they will, make me not feel good. I have that.
Yeah. I mean, whoever made that toast, I don't know what his problem was, but like, I feel like the key to it all is just knowing you're so comfortable with yourself. Like, you are the best person around. Anyone who's in your company should be so lucky to be there. Like, that's how I began to think of myself. And it definitely attracted more people to me to the point where I was like, no. Like, you could like turn people away at a certain point, because like you become more magnetic when you realize I'm the shit. I'm the best person here.
No, that's dope. And that's what I've heard, that like just definitely like attract, when you think that way, attracting more people. So definitely something that I'm, trying to think better of myself always, but definitely something I struggle with every day for sure.
Yeah, and it's the imposter syndrome doesn't help either. So like combating that's a good first step.
Imposter syndrome, my BFF, imposter syndrome.
Oh, the problems it causes. Final question before we spin the wheel, or if you want to vent about anything, but tell us about Twitter. Why did they kick you off? And are you still back? Are you still off Twitter, or are you back?
Oh, I'm still off Twitter. Okay, so it's so like, oh man, it's like nervous laugh. So
if you want to get into it, because I saw an illusion, I was like, what happened?
So I am a very obnoxious Yankee fan, as I shared. My friend is a very. Hi. Are you okay? Yeah. I'll be done in a minute. Sorry, it's my.
We'll wrap up. No, mom comes first.
No. You're cool. I probably had a question. So he runs a Yankee like fact account. He's really good, really smart guy. Cool guy, friend. We've decided we're friends. He's sweet. And he, I met him through Twitter, and then he runs this satirical Yankee account. And they post like fake headlines, but a lot of people thought it was real at first because it had like a similar New York Post, like the newspaper New York Post logo, and like they're written like real headlines are very funny. So on Mother's Day, the Yankees like came from behind win. Wasn't really expected to do it. Great win, like nail biter. Like I think that game was, they won in the bottom of the ninth. The game before, they won in extra innings. Like, it was stressful. They were losing both games at one point. So people are very hard on the New York Yankees manager, Aaron Boone. Aaron Boone is amazing. He once sent the Yankees to the playoffs against, they won, walk off against the Red Sox in 2003, if I'm remembering correctly. Just an iconic man. Loved him then, love him now. And people are like, I tell people, like, he reminds me of myself if I managed the Yankees. He very much seems like just like everybody walks in and he like has this almost Ted Lasso, but like a more serious Ted Lasso, where he's just like, hey man, you're great. You're all doing great. And we were trying our best. And like, what, he's just very like positive and very like, and like people have been like, Aaron, you guys are like 5-14 and like have the worst record in the American League, which they did. I think it was like 5-12. I don't know if they were 5-14, but they had the worst record in the American League about, might have even been all in baseball, about like a month ago. But I was also like, it's been 13 days, like relax. So on Mother's Day, my friend wrote this satirical tweet. He was like, to celebrate Mother's Day and their win, Aaron Boone is taking out all the Yankees to Lamaze classes to like find their zen, or like, just like, obviously like, just like picturing all these like men like, are just like alone walking into a Lamaze class on Mother's Day, like made me laugh. So very sarcastically, I replied, I said, Joseph, I'm going to kill you. My friend's name. And Twitter was like, no.
That sounds like a threat.
they were like, that's a threat. So I appealed it, and I was like, I'm really sorry. Like, cause I really do try to be mindful of my words, and I just,
that's the reason you got kicked off.
So and I do feel bad. So I was like, I appealed it, and I was like, listen, I am genuinely sorry. Like, I try to be mindful of my words, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I accept that I like messed up. I'm sorry. I just want to know, like, how long will this be for? Like, is this permanent? And I got an email on Friday morning, and it was like, we've reviewed your appeal. We saw that you still like broke Twitter standards, and your account will not be reinstated.
Oh my God.
And so I replied again, and I was like, okay, like, at all? And then I tried to make a new account, and it got suspended, and I was like, so.
That's such bullshit. Like, can you have the guy, Joseph, who runs the account, can he like appeal for you?
That's a good question. I think I'm going to have to message him and be like, hey, man.
Gather some witnesses.
They're like super intense about like, they like, when I sent the email, they were like, we have like a high like response volume right now. So it'll take, but tomorrow will be 2 weeks. And like, now I'm just nervous that I'm not going to get it back. And I've like built relationships with writers and stuff off of Twitter. And
you're super active on Twitter. Like I see you all the time on there.
Thank you, buddy. Yeah, no, I'm super bummed about it. I feel guilty about everything. Like when I mess up, I feel bad that I've messed up. So I was like, I'm sorry. And like, but I also am sad because like I'm currently, and then somebody else was like, somebody compared me to Donald Trump. Like a few of my friends have jokingly done that. And I'm like, please do not do that.
Yeah, maybe you need to make like a Russian account and they'll let you back in. Put like American flag, Russian name, talk about Putin, and you're good. You're good to go.
There we go.
You have to strategize. That's so crazy. I can't believe that's the thing that Twitter is like attacking. This girl made a joke and it's about killing someone, and also the Yankees. We doesn't stand for that.
No, it's a hot mess, and it's like, it's not my finest hour, and it's a hot mess, and it checks out.
Yeah,
everyone.
Twitter, not perfect.
Yeah, no, that sounds like something you do, and that sounds like the end result. And I'm like, okay. But I really hope I get it back. But now I'm honestly like, I feel like at this point, like I might not. I'm gonna have to, which is sad because I use it for work and my thoughts and feelings. But I'm gonna have to figure it out.
Yeah, I think if you have to start all over again, maybe it's a blessing. Who knows?
Right.
Let me know how I can help you. If you need tweets sent, let me know.
Thank you.
Of course. So I don't want to keep you too long. Tell me what you would like to do. You want to spin the wheel, or do you want to vent about anything of your choosing?
Spin the wheel, pal.
All right, let's do it.
Oh, heck yeah. Love me a wheel.
It's a good wheel.
So cool. That's a good wheel.
What have you learned lately?
What have I learned lately?
If anything. If not, we can spin again.
That's a good question. I think I've learned that, sorry, it's like, I think that I feel like I've learned, it's like, like you think of like the little things and then the big things.
Mm-hmm. You can mention a few things, whatever comes to mind.
I think that, and it's like, I'm not even trying to be funny. Like, I'm super sad that my Twitter got suspended. I'm
sad for you. It's such a stupid thing to take away.
Thank you. But
let the people tweet.
I'm like, it made me think about like words and stuff, like, and just about the way, like, and it just made me think about how I would never actually like threaten someone, but like how like something aside from that, just like how words, like, the things we say to people, how they like, even not in this instance, but like, that they carry weight. Like I've just been thinking a lot about this. I've been mad at myself, and then I've just been thinking about this kind of like cursory comment I made, and then it made me start thinking about like other things, and I was like, words really have weight. Like even if it's something that's like, this is totally on the other foot, like totally out of left field, but I'm a big, like when I end conversations with like people, especially if I love them, like I'm just, we don't know what tomorrow brings, which is cliche that a lot of people say, but we really don't. So I'm big on being like, I love you, bye. Like, I'm just very much like, if I love you, like, I'm going to tell you. And I'm going to tell you, like, maybe 4 times in a day. Like, maybe I will. Maybe I don't know. So I think lately I've just been thinking about that, how, like, our words mean things, even if it's like I'm kicking myself because I said something about Yankees and Lamaze classes I should have said, or, something that I'm thinking about, like... just like looking at someone, or even if it's in text message, just being like, I care about you, or how are you, or that kind of thing. So
you were provoked with the Lamaze class thing. So I would say you wouldn't have done it unprovoked.
You're funny. Thank you.
And Katie, can you email me your Twitter handle? I will personally email Twitter and be like, here are my words. Here's my defense of Katie Tamola. Please let her back on. It's so stupid. They kicked you off.
You're so funny. I just my friend, like, I don't know if I can say this because I'm like, are they gonna delete? My friend gave me her like old burner account, which I like. And I started a new Twitter. It's @ Tamola tweets, but like I have I have like a few followers and no, and I'm like, oh, these authors who I once got to follow me are not gonna follow me again. But I'm like, it's okay. Nobody's dead. I'm like, Katie, just get your life together.
Yeah, think of
Tamola
it like it's your brand new slate. Time to go viral.
No, yeah, no, no. Here we go. Here's to hoping.
Yeah, but please let me know. I want to write an angry email on your behalf.
Oh, I would love that. I don't want you to do that. I know you're a busy woman. I don't want to have to do that. But thank you.
I love writing angry emails, so
I'm all about it.
yes.
I love to hear that. Thank you.
Of course. Katie, it's been a pleasure. Tell us where to find you. If not Twitter, where else?
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. All my writing is on www.katietamola.com, and that's also my Instagram handle and my Twitter handle. If it ever gets reinstated, my Twitter and Instagrams are handle @ I was like, what is that sign? @ Katie Tamola. My backup Twitter right now is Tamola Tweets, which sounds like a person coming in kind of sounds like a spaceship. I don't know. And yeah, you can probably find me, maybe having a cathartic cry with a nice coffee near the East Village. Probably the thing you can do. And thank you so much. This was wonderful. Highlighted my Sunday. Thank you.
Of course. Thanks for taking the time.